Meizu is one of the many smartphone brands pushing its way out of China and into the consciousness of those who are more familiar with buying Android phones from LG, Samsung, HTC, Huawei, and ZTE. It's most closely related to the latter two manufacturers, thanks to its slick designs, heavily customized user interfaces, and quite often, very reasonable price tags. The Meizu MX6 would have once been a flagship phone for the company, but it has since introduced the Pro range, which supersedes the standard MX series. The specifications are still pleasingly upper range, and the design and build quality are as good as any we've seen from Oppo, OnePlus, ZTE, and many others. However, buying one will still be seen as a gamble, but should that really be the case? Is opting for a cheaper phone with strong specifications, despite not being overly familiar with the brand, a bad thing? We've been using the MX6 for a couple of weeks to see if it's a welcome alternative to the growing number of excellent smartphones that sell for less than half the price of a big-name brand device. The Meizu MX6 looks like an iPhone, and it also feels like one when you're holding it. While generally accepted today, it's rather tiresome to have yet another phone that takes its styling cues from Apple's ever-popular phone. Our review model has a white front panel broken up by a 5.5-inch screen and a stadium-shape, multi-function home button. The rear panel is metal with a matte brushed look, and antenna bands sweeping across the top and bottom, just like Apple's new iPhone 7. While gripping the Meizu MX6, you'll notice neatly curved sides that blend well into the 2.5D curved glass screen edges. It's very comfortable, but also slippery, just like the iPhone 7 it closely resembles. There's very little to grab onto when using the MX6 with one hand, and wrapping it in a case would be advisable if you're a little accident-prone. It's all very restrained. It reminded me of the Oppo F1 Plus in its slightly bland subtlety, aside from the central camera lens on the rear, which injects a little character. It's slightly heavier than the F1 Plus, at 155 grams, and a little thicker at 7.3 mm. That's squarely in between both the iPhone 7 and the ZTE Accent 7. The phone isn't water or shock-proof, but the build quality is superb, with no excess button movement, no imperfections around the bezel, and no creaks from the body. It's what you'd expect a modern smartphone to feel like, almost regardless of how much it costs. Demure and understated, but very well presented, the MX6 isn't going to turn heads thanks to outrageous styling, but it won't turn them for looking like a cow's behind either. How about performance and software? Meizu doesn't use Qualcomm's Snapdragon processors. It has used Samsung Exynos chips in the past, but has recently tasked MediaTek with powering some of its phones. The MediaTek Helio X20 is the chip inside the MX6. It has a dual-core processor we last encountered inside Xiaomi's Redmi Pro, where it performed acceptably. Our model came with 4 GB of RAM, and putting it through a few benchmark tests returned some interesting results. Geekbench 4 gave it 3,767 multi and 1,676 single, results very close to the Galaxy S7. Using Antutu, it scored 90,812, which is way below the Accent 7's 128,000. The MX6 performed really well when playing games. Reckless Racing 3 was smooth and playable, as was Danmaku Unlimited in hard mode with HD graphics. The rear of the phone did get warm to the touch, which we also experienced with the Redmi Pro. Android 6.0 Marshmallow is installed, so you're not getting the latest version of the OS, and it comes with Meizu's own Flame user interface over the top. It's visually very different from standard Androids seen on Nexus phones and the Pixel, and comes with various apps and features added by Meizu, which inspire varying levels of irritation. Probably the most striking change is the complete removal of Android's back and recent buttons, both hardware and software. Instead, you swipe up on the screen to open the Recents view, soft tap on the fingerprint sensor and the home button to go back, and fully press it down to return to the home screens. It's completely different from any other Android phone, but surprisingly intuitive. It's not better or worse than the established Android method, just slightly neater, and is arguably a system that didn't need fixing in the first place. The way notifications appear is one of the better alterations. They scroll along the information strip like a ticker at the top of the display on arrival, so if you read looking at the screen, you won't be interrupted by a massive drop-down box, and can still read the incoming message. It's neat, handy, and a worthwhile change. The notification shade itself is attractive, and until swiping down, it's sparsely populated with shortcuts. You can tailor these shortcuts to your liking, and include everything from a hotspot control to a flashlight shortcut. There's a split-screen mode that only operates with certain apps, and is activated in the Recent Apps menu, where you look out for apps with a multi-button next to them. Meizu installs a few standard apps, including a weather app and a video and music app, as well as access to its own app store. None of these can be uninstalled. There's also a Clean Master-style security app that frees up memory, shows battery life, and activates the antivirus software. All apps are spread across multiple home screens, and there's no option to add an app tray. Fly may look very different from Google's Android, but it's smooth and slick, and the flat, colorful style is really easy on the eyes. It's far from the hateful third-party user interfaces we've seen in the past, and aside from the annoying apps that can't be uninstalled, it's not a negative point against the MX6. However, its presence does restrict future updates, which may never arrive at all. This potentially leaves security holes open and the Android build lagging behind newer phones. Let's talk about display and battery. The 5.5-inch screen is produced by Sharp, and uses in-cell technology, where normally separate screen layers are combined into one, for a highly responsive touch surface. Featherlight touches on the screen are all that's needed here, and it's a real pleasure to use, particularly when playing games. The 1920 by 1080 pixel resolution is lower than many of its competitors, but doesn't affect normal use. Turning the brightness up to maximum does begin to wash the screen out. There's a color temperature setting, and an eye protection mode for lower blue light levels at night, complete with a scheduler for automatic use. A 3,060 mAh battery sounds capacious, but in reality, it was only just enough for a day's worth of average use. Playing a few games, doing some social networking, and running a benchmark sucked 20% in about 90 minutes. Use the MX6 hard, and it'll likely struggle to last a full day. It actually closely matched my iPhone 7 Plus for battery performance, despite the iPhone's smaller capacity cell, leading us to believe software optimization is the issue. And about the camera. Arguably one of the most important features on any modern smartphone, the camera can make or break the device, and convince us to recommend it or not. The MX6 has a 12-megapixel Sony IMX386 sensor, which has an f/2.0 aperture, and a 1.25-micron pixel size with phase detection autofocus. It doesn't have optical image stabilization. That all sounds good, but the results don't live up to the potential. The first issue is a tendency to overexpose. I found myself tweaking pictures with Snapseed to get them just right, especially when they'd been taken on gray, overcast English days. Doing this definitely brought out the best, but the results still can't match pictures taken with the Accent 7 or the Honor 8, let alone more expensive camera phones like the Huawei P9, the Google Pixel, or the Apple iPhone 7 Plus. But that's not the worst part. The MX6 has focusing and detail problems, resulting in oddly out-of-focus images that appear blurred. It's not the screen making the images look odd either, they look even worse after transferring them onto a larger display. It's noticeable when looking at images at normal scale, but zoom in and you'd think they'd been taken with a 3-megapixel camera 5 years ago. The same issue doesn't plague the 5-megapixel front camera, which comes with PhotoNation's effective smart beauty software, for extensive tweaking of your selfies after the photo has been snapped. This includes slimming of the face, smoothing out and lightening of the skin, and plenty more. Go mad, and you'll look like you do in a fairground mirror, but when used subtly, it does the job well. Sadly, overall, the MX6 doesn't inspire us to take pictures we want to keep or share. The price. The Meizu MX6 costs $300, or around £250, which is a very reasonable price for a smartphone with these specifications. However, US buyers should be aware it won't connect to 4G LTE GSM networks, and will only operate on 3G. In the UK, it has better 4G LTE connectivity, but we still found it more often selected 3G high-speed downlink packet access (SPA) signals. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more gadget info and give me feedback on the comments.